Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mark 1 Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land. Over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Photon bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley, this is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start. Hello and welcome to the Docking Bay 77 podcast. I am your host, Dayton Johnson. And man, do we have a great episode in store for you today. We are talking about a fantastic film. And to do that, I had to have a couple of fantastic people joining me. He is my right-hand man. It is Disney John. How are you doing?
Man, I thought you were talking about somebody else being fantastic. Wow, me? Okay, I'm here. And thank you, sir, for having me back. It feels like I've had a hiatus, but I'm ready to get busy. Let's do this. I can't wait to talk about this.
It's been a while. It's been a while. And she does the best production history out of everybody on the pod. It is J.P. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm so excited you asked me to do this episode. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yes, we are discussing the film, The Coming of Age Mystery, starring Jennifer Lawrence from 2010. It is Winter's Bone.
Way down in Missouri where I heard this melody, the old folks were humming, the banjos were strumming, so sweet and low.
Mike Satterfield, A1 Bonds.
What is it you want?
We hold the bond on Jessup Dolly. He didn't show for court.
That ain't no run.
Jessup signed over everything. If he doesn't show at trial, see, the way the deal works is you all gonna lose his house here. You got someplace to go?
I'll find him.
Girl, I've been looking.
I said I'll find him. His in-law was out here hunting Jessup. You know where he's at? I wouldn't tell him nothing if I did. I really gotta run Dad down to get him to show.
You ought not do that.
Dad's your only brother.
I don't know where he's at, and I ain't gonna go around asking after him neither.
Who might you be?
I'm Ree. My dad's Jessup Dolly.
You ain't here for trouble, are you?
I got a real bad need to talk to him.
Talking just causes witnesses.
How long before we get kicked off our own property?
I reckon y'all got this place about another week.
The law found Jessup's card. Somebody set fire to it. He wasn't in it.
Do you know there's people going around saying you best shut up? People you want to listen to. Get out of the truck. Put your hands where I can see them.
Is this gonna be our time?
There's stuff that you're gonna have to get over being scared of.
Get off! Don't hurt my sister! Get in the house!
You was warned, and you wouldn't listen.
Why didn't you listen?
All right, let's hit our opening thoughts. Include first time you saw the film and any general thoughts you have about it. So, JP, why don't you start us off?
Well, trying to remember back that far, I'm almost positive I probably did not see this movie until they had released it. It got nominated for a few Academy Awards, and
Okay.
I'm sure I put it in my rotation at that point. And it deals with a very tough and, the depressing subject matter of the meth epidemic in southern Missouri. So I have a feeling I probably watched it once, so I was educated on it, and then this was probably the next reason I had to watch it. So thank you very much for letting me revisit this fabulous film.
Right? It is so freaking good. All right.
I'm very curious why you picked it like now, because it's been so many years since it's been out.
Well, honestly, it's because that character made my top 7 badass women in film, and it just felt like a good time to talk about it.
Okay, great.
Why not? And it's always a good time to talk about Jennifer Lawrence. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right, right. All right, Disney John, opening thoughts.
I have to say, I didn't think this was going to be a good film. I know I did not see it in the theater. Guaranteed,
I know I
did not
didn't
see it in
either.
the theater.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it to me a year ago.
It's been a couple of years. I think it was probably when we did the top 7 episode, actually.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that's probably it. So when we did the top 7, you mentioned this movie, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go watch this stuff. I don't think I'm gonna like it, but you really highly recommended it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and watch this movie. I just had low expectations. I can't tell you how many times I've watched it now because I've watched it a lot, and every time I watch it, I become engrossed in the story and the storytelling. Everything about this was just fantastic, and Lawrence's performance was, stellar. It was just amazing in this show. So yeah, those are my opening thoughts. I will leave it there because I know we're going to be discussing a lot.
So, I actually am not sure what drove me to watch this the first time. I can tell you I did rent it from our local Blockbuster. And at that point, I really didn't know who Jennifer Lawrence was. It could have been the hype from X-Men First Class that drove me to watch the film because of her. I remember seeing it and seeing the box art and seeing, of course, it won at Sundance, it's whatever. And so I'm assuming I probably saw it, after the Oscars and things. So once I put it in, I just was like, oh my God, this is so freaking good. The story is just engrossing. Jennifer Lawrence, as we already mentioned, was just amazing in this film. She's in 99% of the movie. I mean, she's almost in every single scene. She has a dream that she's not in, and that's about it. She's in like so much of it. And she makes you believe every emotion, every expression, every word, every movement she does is just authentic, believable, and there's so much going on. And I'm going to say this multiple times. If you have not seen this film, you absolutely need to. It is just fantastic. So with that, here's a quick synopsis of said film. Her family home in danger of being repossessed after her dad skips bail and disappears. Ozark teen Ree Dolly, played by Jennifer Lawrence, breaks a local code of conduct by confronting her kin about their conspiracy of silence. Should she fail to track down her father, Ree, her younger siblings, and their mentally unstable mother will soon be homeless. That's a good synopsis without giving too much away. So, spoilers ahead. Just going to say that right now.
Yep. Been out long enough.
It's been long enough. True. All right, let's move on.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
It's time for That's the Fact, Jack. Here is some production facts from JP as well as some trivia. So why don't you start us off?
Okay. This film had a very interesting journey to get made, and so I geeked out a little bit putting this section together.
I'm shocked.
I know. Imagine that. And I even cut things out of this earlier today, so it was going to be even longer. So just keep that in mind. Okay, here goes. The director, Deborah Granick, made a name for herself as a director at the 2004 Sundance Film Festival with the independent drama Down to the Bone, which is about a woman's struggle with drug addiction. And then Granick was drawn to what she calls the neo-realist style, which I call dramas that could almost pass as documentaries.
Right.
So it makes sense that she was drawn to the story of Winter's Bone. She wanted to bring the rural Ozark landscape described in the book to life visually. But independent films have always been difficult to get made, and this one was no exception. No one wanted to invest the money to even option the book rights so she could write a screenplay.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So this film got made because Granick's preferred director of photography, Michael McDonough, took her and her producer, Ann Rossellini, some money out of one of his paychecks and challenged them each to pitch in another third and option the book rights themselves. Madonna had started graduate film studies in NYU at the same time as Granick. They had worked well together on Down to the Bone, and he had been listening to her talk about wanting to make Winter's Bone for a while, and he was willing to risk his own money to be a part of it. So
Wow.
that's unusual in a lot of cases. So that tells you how badly they wanted to get it done. In 2006, they optioned the book, and Granick started writing. And she discovered she wasn't going to be able just to translate the novel into screenplay format, that the novel had a structure flaw. And that is the main character, teenage Ree, goes door to door seeking information on the location of her missing father, Jessup, only to be rejected at each stop. And in a from script to screen interview, Granick said she was worried the film audience would get ahead of the story and anticipate each door would present an obstacle for Ree instead of a breakthrough. So she solved the problem by limiting what Ree learns at each new stop. She made sure the story would catapult ahead and not settle into a predictable rhythm. And I really think that's what John really got into this when he finally made himself watch it, because the story is laid out really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the director had to deal with that Ozark dialogue used in the book.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
How do you keep the richness of that without losing a general audience? So Granick and the producer Rossellini spent time in that region and asked locals to decipher the meaning of words from the book, because they didn't even know what some of the words in the book meant, just in general, and to give them replacements an outsider could say more comfortably if needed. And then after the book's author, Daniel Woodrell, personally took them through the region where he grew up and still lives, to learn about the area and the impact that meth has had on the area, they knew they wanted to film it in Missouri. But there was a problem with that. Missouri didn't offer the kind of film incentives that other states offered.
Oh.
Incentives that allowed the dollar of an independent film to go farther. So they needed to raise $4 million to get this made, to be able to shoot it
Wow.
in Missouri the way that Granick had written the first screenplay. At one point, they brought the DP Madonna to that area, and he took hundreds of photographs and assembled what's called a lookbook, so investors and other crew could clearly understand the project and how important that location was going to be. And that turned out to be an effective tool, and they found an interested $4 million backer.
Ooh.
Who, just 2 months before filming was to begin, decided to back out and take his money with him.
Oh.
Ouch.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
horrid.
I mean, 2 months before your principal of photography is like no time. They had basically everything set and ready to go. And then this guy said, no. So anyway, but they ended up getting lucky and found an equity financer who agreed to put up half of the budget, or $2 million,
right,
and gave the team full creative control, which the first guy had. And so Granick knew they could do the movie for less and decided to push principal photography to the following year and revise the script, finding ways to slash the budget. For example, it became obvious that each time she had written "the ground is covered with snow," like is in the novel, the budget had increased. Think 20 plus days of a snow machine rental.
Oh my gosh.
Just to get consistent look of snow. I mean, people don't think about that kind of stuff, but the snow would have had to have been created.
That's crazy.
I know. So Granick rewrote the script and described the scenes as just wintry, or the trees had no leaves kind of
Right.
thing. And if you watch the film, you can see that obviously there's not really any snow in the film at all, but you still get a real sense of winter.
Yes.
It's definitely cold.
Yes, exactly. They also made sure to cast the main character, Ree, who is a teenager, with the 18-year-old legal adult but looked like a teenager, Jennifer Lawrence. And this helped launch her career. So, Granick worked hard and found a way to make it a $2 million script, and they were going to be able to make the movie for the money they had. She said, quote, "We were 50% poorer, but 100% freer."
Nice.
Which
Yes.
I think is great. I think it's
That's
great.
totally worth it.
Yes, exactly. And I think she agrees with that. Before filming, the DP McDonough did his homework and he studied the look of other films for inspiration for this, neo-realistic look that Granick likes. He studied Jane Campion's The Piano and Ridley Scott's The Duelist for their use of natural light.
Makes sense.
He studied Bruno Dumont's La Vie de Jesus for its saturated lyrical landscape. I have not seen that movie, but that trailer looks weird. He studied the early films of Jean-Pierre and Luc Dardin for their handheld camera movement. Because he said that Granick loves a handheld camera, but she hates a shaky cam. So he had to find that balance.
Right. Okay.
Kind of between the two. John Hawkes had been attached to play one of the lead and pivotal roles, Ree's uncle Teardrop, who got his nickname because of his prison tattoos. But Granick had dialed back the amount of dialogue that character had compared to what appears in the book, which she described as rivaling the monologues of Hamlet.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Which I've not read the book, so that actually quote from her made me want to read the book because I was like, I can see what these monologues are all about. But those monologues had been what drew Hawkes to the role of Teardrop. And when they began filming, he started putting lines back in. Granick said she and Rossellini both respected the fierce commitment he had to the role, and they decided to, quote, roll with it. Well, he got nominated for an Academy Award for that role, so I think it was worth it just letting him roll with it. They ended up casting about 20 of the 26 speaking roles regionally to get more authentic Ozark sounding accent, and they changed one of Ree's younger siblings late in the process from a brother to a sister after meeting the 6-year-old girl Ashley, who lived on the property that they would use as Ree's home.
Right.
So they started seeing that Jennifer Lawrence and this little 6-year-old Ashley girl were starting to form a bond whenever they would go out to do rehearsals. And so they just decided to cast this actual resident of the property as a sibling. And Ashley's family's dogs, all 11 of them, and 17 cats appear throughout the film. They just realized they were not going to be able to wrangle any of these things, and they just come in and out of scenes at will. Okay, so they figured out how to make the film for $2 million, and they submit the edited film to Sundance, and it gets picked up to compete for awards, so everybody's gonna see it, and yay. They were able to secure a producer's rep before the festival, but were turned down 7 times by foreign sales agents and attended the festival without one.
Wow.
So they were having a hard road, even though they got picked up at Sundance. Producer Rosalina wasn't too worried. She was told that sales no longer happened at Sundance, so she was just going to hope that the film would get good audience and critic reviews, and they could use that to boost later sales. Well, she was wrong because buyers unexpectedly started bidding on the film. Yes, at the festival. So Roadside Attractions had shown an interest early on during the festival and became the one buyer that the filmmakers took seriously. Their producers met with Roadside Attractions and worked out a deal. And then 4 hours later, another offer came from a different buyer that almost doubled Roadside's offer.
Wow. Jeez
Yeah, I
Louise.
know. Intrigue. As filmmakers who have a bit of their own money tied up in this film, what do you do? Well, they decided to stick with Roadside Attractions, who had always been excited about the movie because the other company had been like, they wouldn't even take their calls in the
Right.
beginning. It wasn't until it got buzz that they came in and at the last
Good for
minute and
them.
wanted to get, so they stuck with Roadside. The film was ultimately nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, as well as Best Adapted Screenplay, and as I mentioned before, for Best Supporting Actor for John Hawkes.
That's awesome.
Yes. And that's the shorter version of what I was going to talk about.
Oh, yes, I love it. Okay. So a couple quick notes I want to mention. You did mention Sundance. That was January 21st of 2010 that it showed at Sundance. It won the Grand Jury Prize for Dramatic Film and also Best Screenplay. It went quote unquote wide release June 11th later that year. Of course, stars Jennifer Lawrence, as we mentioned, who did get an Oscar nod for that. John Hawkes, who also, and actually, as of recording of this podcast, that is the only Oscar nomination John Hawkes has received. We did cover another one of his films not too long ago, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. He was the ex-husband in that film. So check that movie out. Good. And he was great in that too. So some other names you may or may not know, Dale Dickey, Cheryl Lee, of course, from Twin Peaks fame. Is also in there. And as you mentioned, a collection of locals to round out the cast. The budget, as you said, was $2 million. It did actually make $16 million at the box office. So it was actually quite profitable ultimately. Now, here's a few, let's just call them accolades. On IMDb, the Metascore is 90. Rotten Tomatoes score is 94.
Good Lord.
It ended up on 25 top 10 lists, and out of the 25, over half of them are ranked in the top 5. And you mentioned all the Oscar nods. I will let John have the Jennifer Lawrence how she got cast note because I know he loves that.
I think it's fantastic.
I did want to mention that Jennifer Lawrence learned how to chop wood and skin squirrels and fight for this role. And that squirrel scene is rather hard to watch, but it impresses me every time I see it.
Yes.
You got to eat, man. You got to eat.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, John, why don't you tell us how she got the role?
Well, she got the role not by being too pretty, because that's what they said the first time.
Yeah, they turned it down at first, yes.
But she apparently came in on a red eye, exhausted, no makeup, walked all the way to the offices, came in disheveled, and just sat down in front of Granick and said, "Okay, let's go." And they were like, "This is exactly what I'm looking for." Like, an unpretentious teenager who doesn't wear makeup. This is perfect, right?
Yep.
Because it's fascinating to me. Like, okay, she's too pretty. Wow. Words have never been spoken like that before. That's just bad. But I can get it. I mean, if she came in all like, makeup on and everything like that, I mean, she's a very pretty woman. And like, you put makeup on her, she's just going to look way too good for what the role was. So
Yeah.
I can totally see why her coming in completely disheveled from a red eye with no sleep, dragging her butt into the interview. I know that's not what it's called, whatever it's called. I was just like, yeah, that was pretty fascinating to me.
So the only other tidbit of news I actually have that not news, but trivia, because JP took the rest of it. This was the lowest grossing film nominated for an Oscar since The Dresser in 1983. So I thought that was
wow.
Yeah. As far as it's yes. So I looked up that, and that looked pretty weird. It had some big names in it, but I'm like, I don't know if that that pretty much covers it. We already talked about Ashley and her house, and yeah. I'm so glad you did the history, because I couldn't find all that stuff. So thank you, JP, for that.
You're welcome. I watched in the behind the scenes stuff and in the director's commentary. I actually came out with some trivia I thought was interesting too.
Go right ahead.
So the director of photography, Madonna, and some other crew began taking jewelry making lessons on their off days while they were filming.
Oh.
And some of the jewelry actually ended up being worn by some actresses
Oh,
in the film. So I thought that was kind of cool. In the scene where the character of Teardrop is introduced, he grabs Ree's face more
Yes.
aggressively and like to intimidate her and discourage her from searching for her father. Well, the actor John Hawkes didn't tell anyone he was going to do that.
Oh.
So that's a real scared reaction from Jennifer Lawrence in that scene.
It
Yeah.
plays.
And
Holy moly.
apparently that
Yes.
room that they're filming in is like itty bitty teeny tiny. So he was like 6 inches from the camera lens
Oh my
when he came
goodness.
around to her and stuff. So teeny tiny little space. In the final scene, that little 6-year-old Ashley we talked about hands Ree the baby chick that Uncle Teardrop had gifted her and gets Jessup's banjo. She returns to the steps and begins to strum, and that's how the movie ends. Well, that was not supposed to happen. It was completely the whim of the 6-year-old to get the banjo, and you can see Jennifer Lawrence smile, almost crack up in the scene, amused by the precocious girl's improvisation.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. See, and this is another reason why director commentaries are so wonderful, because you get a lot of information that you wouldn't anywhere else. On the Say Anything episode, there was a lot of stuff that I dropped that I literally got from the commentary as well.
Yeah,
so,
it's great.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Yes, that the Blu-ray I have of the film is loaded with a lot of stuff. So absolutely love it. All right. Any other trivia from anybody before we move on?
Did we talk about how they used a lot of the local homes in the Ozarks for the sets?
Yes, more or less.
Okay.
Yes. See, I covered it in the production history.
That's what I
But
thought.
yes.
That's what I thought I remember hearing. I just want to make sure that I was it was to me was an outstanding use of space. I mean, once they got into the community and the community accepted them, and then asking to use their homes, like it just the movie from beginning to end feels very authentic.
Oh
right?
God,
I mean,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
God, yes.
They had been going there, creating relationships. So I say Granick and the producer for 2 full years.
Yep.
Before they shot, because of that backer backing out and then them having to push the production and stuff. So they started getting, I think as people started hearing the "oh woe is me" kind of things, they were like, well, you can use our place, or you can do this, or you can do that, and it ended up being perfect.
Yeah,
for everything.
What country folk do.
Yep.
All right. Unless you're looking for your missing father. Anyway, all right. Let's move on.
We don't talk about that.
Yes.
That was totally wicked!
All right, it's time for That Was Totally Wicked. These are things we love about the film. So I have a lot, but I'm going to go last. So, John, what's something you love about the film?
Watching it from beginning to end every single time.
Yeah, literally everything. Yes.
So, I don't know if my wife's watched this or not. She's always told me she's grown up in abject poverty, right? Like and I didn't realize this until we were married for a lot of years. But like she goes, oh no, that's like basically how we lived when I was down in Kentucky. I was like, what? So like I understand where this is coming from. So it hits me in a different way. And I'm going like, oh yeah. So I mean, the whole film, I don't know. There's not a single one. Like I love like when she's teaching her siblings how to shoot. I mean, because that is a part of life. I mean, how else are you going to subsist if you don't go out and go hunt for your meat to go eat? So I mean, that scene was cool. And yeah, they were young, but like, that's what people do. I mean, I know people have problems with guns, but like, this is what you do when you have to eat. You have to go hunt, and that's how you do it. You start teaching them at a young age, proper gun safety. And it was hysterical because, yeah.
I love how she was quizzing them how to spell when they were walking.
Yeah.
Or little things like there's just little lines that she delivers. Like when the brother asks, he sees the neighbors have food. And he says, you think they'll share it? It's like, should we ask? And she goes, don't ask, for what ought to be shared. So it's like, it seems like every scene she was teaching them something different, whether it was how to deal with the neighbors, the code of, what to do, what not to do. Like when the neighbor comes to grab her to take her to go show her the burned out trailer, the boy comes up, Sonny, and it's like, challenges him. And the guy was like, it's good to have balls, but it could get you beat up, because he was ready to take on this guy to protect his sister. So the relationship, the fact that she's asked to do so much After being
She's
older
the mother.
sister. She is. She's literally she's the mother and the father. You know, and even later when she's talking to Megan when she goes to first look for her dad, and she explains to Megan that, you know, what she's having to do, and she's like, your dad left you to do all that? Well, that's pretty fucked up. And it's just like, you know, it's amazing how, you know, the 17-year-old is just taking on all this responsibility, and it's yes.
Hey JP, you'll be next now that he
Yes,
took over
sorry.
second place.
I'm just
No, it's great.
I'm playing off what you said. Anyway,
It's hard not to, right? Because there's so much of this
like
movie.
I said, there literally, when I sat down to write the things, I almost just wrote the entire thing and moved on, because it's we talked about some great movies, and we've had some films on here where it's like, you know, everything. This is truly one of those movies that is just, it's so good that if you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to watch this film.
I will harken back to my Navy days. We were on a mid-watch, and about halfway through our mid-watch, Dances with Wolves comes on. And you just become engrossed with this 4-hour movie, right? Well, the next watch comes on. They're like, okay, you guys can go. We're like, no, the movie's not over yet. like literally, we were all sitting there by the end of it. They had only seen 2 hours of the movie, a normal movie length at that time. Like, and they were like, wow, that was really good. What was this called? Like, and we told them, and they were like, oh, it's on again, like right at the end of our watch. We'll catch the first 2 hours. Next watch will come on. And it just was so good. And that's how I feel about this movie, is just, it's telling a story in such a way that is captivating, and you want to know what happens next. And like, I mean, this is like a snippet of this poor girl's life,
right?
You know, over a very short period of time, because it's
it's just it's literally a few days.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh my God, like how does she do it? Like where's the GoFundMe site? Let's take care of this. Sorry, JP, go ahead. We're gonna let you talk now, JP.
Okay. Well, I wanna add on to the how great the depiction, or accurate the depiction of poverty in this film is. And I luckily never had to experience true poverty myself, but I was exposed to true poverty growing up through summer trips to visit a family member in Kentucky, a family member who didn't have indoor plumbing. So we were using an outhouse. We were hauling water from the well. We were pulling dinner from the garden. That family member also made, handmade, hand-stitched quilts, and, sewed a certain percentage of her clothes. And I loved those trips because I loved that family member. She was a great talker, told the best stories, loved to laugh. She was living the way she wanted to live, and she was happy.
Right.
And so I didn't even think anything of it, because, kids these days would be like, you're taking me to a place that doesn't have a bathroom?
Yeah.
What? And they'd be like complaining about it the whole time. And I was like, we're going to go. We're going on a trip. And I also went to what was considered a country school from kindergarten through 8th grade. So I went to school with the kids that were living in, well-worn trailers and dilapidated houses, and who came to school without having access to a bath or shower, and depended on the school breakfast and lunch for their meals. During my youth, people living in poverty was prevalent enough to seem normal, and it didn't stand out. So I sunk into this film like it was one of those homemade quilts that my relatives made. I was just right at home in this. And I was like, this is so accurate. And I also love the fact that it's a mystery thriller. At the heart of it, which is my favorite genre. So I had this great female lead character to root for. I had a mystery to be interested in. And I had this world that felt like home to me. So I was all about it. And then what you guys were talking about, how you can watch this film over and over and over again. Well, the editing is so good. I come from an editing background, and the editing is so good. And granted, the director said in an interview that a small film like this needs to be terse, she called it. So they worked hard to keep it under 100 minutes. Their whole purpose, like objective was to keep it
Right.
under 100 minutes long, and it works very well for this. You never
Yes.
get bored.
Agreed. No, it moves very well.
Yeah.
Even when you know the outcome, even when you know it's, you know how it ends.
Yeah.
You can watch it over and over and over again. And I
Yes.
love that because I feel like the art of editing has somewhat been lost over since the 3-hour movie
Yep.
got introduced. Now everybody thinks, I swear 98% of the films I see, some people go, "What'd you think?" And I say, "It was 20 minutes too long."
Yeah, I say that a
Yeah.
lot lately too.
Yeah, and it is. And this one you will not say that. This movie
No.
moves.
I mean, how long is this movie?
It's like 97 minutes, I
Yeah,
think.
I never feel like, so I'm always about pacing, right? I'm about the pacing
Yeah.
of a movie. Like, I don't like the 70s pacing of stuff. I think it's a little too slow for me.
Yeah.
We just talked about, oh my God, we just talked about a movie.
Arrival.
Yeah, thank you. Arrival. I thought that was a slow paced movie, but there was enough going on in it that it didn't distract from the movie. It's like you hit a sweet spot where it just goes. And I felt like that, like this hit it. Like this was just such a good movie. I want to find out what happens next. Tell me more. And like you said, like the drama, it's almost a documentary, but it's not. And it felt like that. And I'm finding more and more the older I get, like I'm enjoying documentaries on things that I may have missed in my lifetime. And I felt like you're watching a documentary of what poor Ozarks look like. And then next time you watch it, you're going like, oh, this is a documentary over Ree. And then, you know what I mean? Like, and then the next time it's a mystery of what happened to her dad. And it's so good.
It literally looks like it looks like the film crew just showed up in town and just started shooting.
Yep.
Because it's like nothing's been Hollywoodized. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's clean or pretty or whatever. No. They didn't wet the streets at night when they're driving and stuff like that, that all the tropes that I can't stand from Hollywood movies. And the thing is there's some of the shots in this film that remind me of some of the areas I've delivered mail to. So it's like, yeah,
I bet. Yeah.
Just all the cars and all the trash in the front yards and whatever, they're where are you going to take it? But they just leave it there. So yes, it is. It's all that it's according to IMDb and to Wikipedia, it's just at 100 minutes. So which is what they wanted. So, and actually that comes back a little bit later in my only note, so I didn't like it, is one little thing that's missing that would have been interesting, but yet it would have made it. It was cut for time. So with the subject matter, our director does such a great job navigating the subject matter so well, to the point to where she keeps us interested. We're meeting these different characters. The look is going to be like, and to your point, using natural light, it doesn't feel like they walked onto a set. So all these people look like they belong here. And so you're invested in everything they have to say and anything they have to do. And the fact that Ree is talking to some of these people that she should definitely not be talking to, and it's but she does it. And every person she meets, every person she comes across, even when the bail bondsman shows up the first time, you're like, okay, this guy is a dick. You're just like, he has such an attitude. And then the cool part is at the end when he shows up and gives her the money that was left over, he's even like, I don't know how you did this, and you can tell that he's impressed. Like just there's a little bit of that in his face that says this girl impressed him. So I thought that was awesome. I love when the first time he shows up too, that the neighbor and the other guy in the car are just sitting there staring this guy down, like, you don't belong here. It was so good. Just little things like that there is not a wasted shot. There's not a wasted scene. There's not a wasted piece of dialogue. And oh my God, this is whatever. I could just keep going. It's just I'm actually at that point to where I'm so enamored with this film, so impressed with this film. It's hard to specifically call out certain things. The fact Ree is a role model, for everybody. She's a fantastic female character who has things working against her, but she finds solutions. She does what she has to do because she has to. There's no crying in the corner. I mean, she has that one moment in the woods with her mom, like she's like, I don't know what to do. But the rest of the time she's determined. And I think that's just fantastic. And we need more things like more films like this that tell an interesting story that doesn't feel the need to, make it's just believable. It's great. And I wish I knew more people like Ree. we need more people like her
I want a
in
neighbor
film.
like Ree.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Right.
You know, this is little things like when she first brings the horse over to the neighbor and she's like, she's like, we were hoping you can keep them with your horses, and just the stuff she's having to do. Like they show her multiple times cooking up potatoes for their food because they don't have anything else. And then there's that shot where she goes into the fridge and sniffs some food and she's, well, here, give this to the dog because it's better than nothing, and they do an amazing job. Like she's sleeping, the kids are sleeping on the furniture, like one sleeping in the recliner, one sleeping on the sofa, and she got the bed because she was injured. I mean, it just the details are amazing. The picture it paints, the emotions, the scary people, Teardrop, and was it what's his name later? Thump. Yes.
Thump,
oh
yeah.
my God, the presence of that guy. Holy crap. And there's even that line where they're in Ree and Teardrop in the truck together, and she said, when I was a little kid, I used to be half afraid of you. He goes, that's because you're smart. It's just like, oh my God, he's terrifying. I can't even imagine him having more dialogue because I think the dialogue he had worked with the character. So
exactly.
yeah, that would have been interesting though. Now I might have to try and find the book to read to hear what he did, what we didn't get. So anyway, the acting is great from everybody, even the extras, the realism, the look, the sound, even the sound. You get the nice background, you get the wind, you get the animals. They just did such a great job making you feel like you just stepped into the Ozarks. So, anything else you want to mention? Because I'm going to shut up now.
No. You've said it. It's a very, very well crafted film.
Right. John, anything else you want to throw out?
I'm good.
Okay. Let's move on.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
All right, it's time for No Sir, I Didn't Like It. These are things that don't work or we don't like in the film. I'm going to get mine out of the way because I don't have anything I don't like. My only question, I would like to scene, there were more scenes shot between Ree and her friend Gail. There was a relationship that was in the book that was not in the film, and I know it was cut or deleted for budget and time. I would have liked to have seen some more with her friend. I just thought their relationship was one of the bright spots that Ree had, and I thought that would have been interesting. But that's not really a complaint. It's just I'm more curious. So, JP, anything doesn't work for you?
I was like you. I couldn't really find anything I disliked, or thought was wrong. But what I found interesting was something that was kind of casually said on the director's commentary.
Okay.
By the DP, that stood out to me. When they got to the scene where Ree she's dropped the siblings off at school, she's walking around kind of longingly, wishing she was still in high school or, ROTC stuff. There's a quick shot of a infant care class.
Yes.
And I didn't think anything of it because where I grew up, you could take an infant care class as an elective because the teenage pregnancy rate was kind of high. And, because you got to think half of us couldn't afford Natari. So what were, you get busy, right? So anyway.
Nice.
So I didn't think anything of it, but he said that was the one thing as they were doing screenings across the country, audience members were completely perplexed by that. And they were like asking a lot of questions about it. And
Interesting.
Yes. And then I had read a quote somewhere. I can't remember what it said, but somebody had said that this land that, they had created in this film was as foreign as the land in Avatar or whatever. And I was like, what? Because to me, it felt like home, but to a lot of people, no experience.
Oh, yeah, right.
And everything. And so they had no clue about that. And so I thought, how would like I felt so at home. How would I be if I was somebody that the entire time I was confused?
Right.
It would have been a
Yeah.
different watching, film, experience. And so I'm wondering if they took enough time to explain certain things like
See,
that and
I don't think you need to, because the average viewer that maybe doesn't get it isn't necessarily going to completely enjoy the film. I mean, maybe if they just look at it as a mystery, instead of trying to understand. I mean, if you put it on on another planet, we still don't need over explained. Sometimes you can ruin a movie by telling people too much. I mean, I've seen poverty. I mean, like I said, a lot of people I delivered mail to, ride bikes because they can't afford cars, or they walk everywhere because they can't afford to pay for cars. And there's literally people living in tents in the woods, like a quarter, not even, like behind the houses where I deliver mail to. So I see it. So to me, this was just real. Luckily I haven't been in that situation, and, knock wood, never will be. My point is, if you're thrown off by a childcare class, then you're focusing on the wrong things. I mean, Ree's friend left school to raise a kid. It's not like that doesn't happen. I mean, it's not like it's unheard of. So
that they don't say that in the film, though.
I
It's
know.
more, it's like I've realized that I kind of figured that out.
Yeah,
But
you kind of have to
there's
put it
little
together.
things like that
Well,
that she had to, she got pregnant at 16 in the book.
Yeah. See, to me, it was like they're both the same age, and Rhea is not in school. So but they say she's 17. So you got to figure her friend's got to be close to the same age and has a infant.
Yeah.
So why else do you leave school? What I mean? So I think you can put it together if you're paying attention, if you've seen it as many times as we have. But either way. So, all right. No, that's an interesting observation. That out of everything we saw in the film, I think that I find that funny that would throw somebody off a child care class. Anyway, all right, John, anything doesn't work for you?
Yeah, something that you both have mentioned tonight about this movie, which I never thought of before tonight. Actually, this is a mystery. I would have never pegged this as a mystery.
They're trying to find out what happened to her dad.
Okay, yeah, you always have to try and find the MacGuffin in most every movie, but I would have never called this a mystery.
Okay.
I find that interesting that it's described as a mystery, because I'm here sitting like asking Claude and ChatGPT, how would you describe this film? Like, and neither one of them came up as like a mystery or anything like that. They definitely, it's a drama to me. I would have only
is.
ever
It also was
called
it was also called a coming of age film, which I don't necessarily know if
I don't agree with that either.
I don't agree with that either.
Maybe an ass kicking film, because she got her ass kicked a couple of times in this. I mean, like, Jesus.
She really got. So I just think it's an easy. I mean, just because you don't have cops, just because you don't have, you're still trying to solve a question. Where did he go?
So would you describe
he?
the movie Clue as a mystery?
It's literally in the name. That's a comedy, though.
I know. It doesn't matter if it's a comedy. I don't know.
It helped them. Also, I understand, and you don't have to consider it a mystery. You can consider but the mystery aspect of it helped them sell the film.
Okay.
And they used that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would just call it a drama, but I'm trying to
like I said,
I'm trying to give people context that, somebody goes missing. They're trying to find out where he goes. I mean, where it happened to him. And she's literally on a quest to go find out where her dad is.
And you're aware that I don't have anything actually about the movie that's wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Okay. Neither do I.
Just making sure. I mean, like, because that's the point. Like,
yep.
I'm just saying, if people are fans of mysteries, they're going to get caught up even more so in this.
Oh, I agree.
film.
I definitely agree about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Because, and they, yeah, it's so good. Well, and then, who was it? Was it Teardrop that tried to trick her, and that her dad was like at the?
No, that was the neighbor.
Oh, the neighbor. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That also see, that was something else. I don't know that maybe people catch on. There's a real subtle discussion between Gail, and it's like you know, and Gail says, "Does Sonny know?" And she goes, "Not for me." And I'm thinking,
yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah. So the neighbor offered to take him, but not Ashley. So interesting. Yeah, just like real subtle things. Like I said, there's no wasted dialogue in this film.
No, it's
everything that's said
film.
means something, gives you some information. It's very, very tight film. So, all right.
Terse, as the director said.
Yeah, terse, right? I love that. All right, let's move on.
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
It's time for Smiling's my favorite. These are some favorite things we have about the film. So, first off, favorite character, JP.
Ree.
Yes.
Because she is a badass female in this. She did a great job of showing that incredible strength that people can have when they're faced with these challenges.
Yep.
And at the same time showing that she is vulnerable because
Yes.
she's not really old enough to have to deal with any of these hard lessons.
Right.
And she does a great job of building empathy, where you just have so much empathy for her. And when she's walking through that high school and just longingly looking
I know,
at
right?
everything, I'm just like all those little things just
The
feel for
interview she
her.
has with the Marine recruiter
Yeah.
or the Army recruiter. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like that right when she gets up to leave, you can tell she's heartbroken. Like this is my plan. This is not going to work out.
She wanted that so desperately.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. So, all right. John, favorite character?
I won't pick Ree because she's the most obvious choice, and I loved her to death, and she was the best actual person out of the whole movie. But I'm going to pick the neighbor. Actually, that's why I mentioned it earlier. It was nice to know that the kids were taken care of by the neighbor. I mean, like that's
Right.
an added pressure on limited resources on an already impoverished area.
Yeah.
And she did it without question. She was just
Yeah.
like, hey guys, we just happen to have a little bit of extra stuff
Yeah.
here for you guys that you like. It is way more than just a little bit extra. Right.
Yeah.
So to me, I just having that neighbor there and having them try to, divert her from the path that she was going down and just trying to help her out, not being mom and dad, you know what I mean? Like they were the neighbors. I found that I thought that was real good. I mean, I really liked that part. She was a good character. I know she's such a bit part, but I really liked her and her husband. Like it was really good.
Yeah.
I think her character name was Sonia.
Is that okay? Yes, that's right.
Yes, Sonia.
Yes. Agreed. All right. No, I do like the neighbors. And yes, honestly, the easy answer is Ree. So, and I actually had that, of course, but I'm going to say Teardrop is my second.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah,
because every scene he's in, like when we first meet him, we're already scared of him,
right?
And then throughout the film, he kind of turns that corner. You know what I mean? He does eventually do the right thing. And, he's stubborn, he's dangerous, he's a criminal, he's definitely, breaking the law.
A criminal,
but when it comes down to it, he does right by his family,
Yes.
So I think that was impressive. So, all right. Favorite scene, JP.
Okay. I have so many, but I'm going to say the garage scene where Ree is getting beat up.
Of course you took mine. Of course you did.
Oh, well, go ahead and say yours first.
Moving down the list.
Well, I mean, it's just got so much going on.
Oh, hell yes, it does. Hell yes, it does.
And so you you can edit this out and put yours in.
No, go ahead. No. We're all in agreement, apparently.
Yeah. But you've got the women folk in charge of beating Ree up. Like that's somehow kinder in some way. And you've got Teardrop showing up to defend Ree after he basically forsook her in an earlier scene.
Mm-hmm. The one guy goes, "I'm not going to stand here naked." When he's coming here, so he's like, "I'm going to go get a gun." And then when that garage door goes up, and that look on Teardrop's face, oh my God,
yeah. And why I like this scene, it's because it does an excellent job of showing the messed up code of ethics that unethical people create to make themselves feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a theme throughout the film. And it really plays out well in that scene, because you realize the only reason Ree gets any resolution is because the town is talking smack
Yeah.
about the Milton family.
Right.
They were
But not
never
her.
gonna.
But not
They were
her.
never. Yeah, but they were never gonna do the right thing until this kind of their code of ethics, internal code of ethics, kind of backfires, and now the town is turning on them, and so then that scene starts to set that up, really plays that out, so you can follow it through the rest of the film.
Well, there's a couple of other things I want to mention that happen in that scene. When she comes to and she looks around and she's just been beaten, and they're like, we've just been discussing what we're going to do with you, and she's like, well, I guess kill me, I guess. And Megan's like, that's already been suggested. And Ree goes, well, how about help me? I bet nobody suggested that. And then Thump shows up and says, if you got something to say to me now. And she basically says, what's going on? I'm going to lose my house. I'm taking care of my mom and my kids, my two siblings or whatever. And there's exchanges and looks like, oh, maybe, we should help her. There's a couple people that kind of looked at each other like, this is not the right thing. There's revelations. And of course Teardrop shows up, and that's just, awesome. And they cut to Jennifer Lawrence's character sitting there on the ground to Ree, and she's huddled up, completely surrounded by all these adults, and she has that look when he says, I'll stand up for her. She's not gonna say anything. And there's that little bit of look on her face of, surprise almost and relief, all in one little expression. And then Thump's like, help her to the truck, and those guys didn't even flinch. They're like, that dude was scary as hell too. Jeez. But
he'd never acted before
I
either.
know. Oh man, I would never want to meet that dude. But to me, that's the turning point in the film. Teardrop gets more involved, and the Thump family, Thump and his family eventually do the right thing. You know what I mean? But it's after that things, turn around. And so that scene is just amazing. You can help me. No, but nobody suggested that. I just sorry.
Oh, it's such a good line. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely so. John, your favorite scene?
And we've discussed it. I think this was a good discussion over probably one of the best scenes in the entire show. Like this was absolutely going to be mine. I didn't have another one because I thought it was that good. Because it's foreshadowed earlier on, because she does go to the Thump family early on, and like that. The wife was like, in no uncertain terms, you're going to stand outside. Absolutely everything that a country person would not do with somebody who was friendly, like made him stand outside. Like it was
by
just
the chicken coop.
Yeah, it was just like, it was really horrendous. And then later on, you're just going like, oh, well, I guess that was kind of nice. You know what I mean? So
it was definitely nicer than the second time.
Yeah, it definitely was. So I really, it was really good. And I felt like this theme was built up. First she goes there, and then didn't we meet Thump at the auction? And
she went to the auction to go find him. And he completely ignores her there, and then shows up at the house. And
it was a whole thing. So I mean, I just liked that culmination of those two previous scenes to this one, and you're just like, well, you fucked around and found out. So
and she tries to bite the sisters as they're dragging her.
I know.
Bite her. I'm like
as one does.
Yes. Oh, so good. All right. Favorite Jennifer Lawrence role?
Oh,
I know. I'm evil. All right, JP.
Okay. In looking at this, I realized I haven't seen very many of her films. So
That's
I
all right.
have to say the Katniss of the Hunger Games, just because she's kick-ass and I enjoyed those films. So I'm more curious to hear you two talk about your favorite Jennifer Lawrence
John.
role.
Oh my God. Okay. Like this. Okay. This was
this hard?
I hated you for this one because
I know.
Because I did like, I think her as Katniss was like the image that I had in my head when I read the books the first time was her. It was that good. But if I were to pick, oh my God, this is so hard.
I know.
Like I hate you so much right now. Okay. So I'm just going to pick, it's going to be Mystique. I liked her. I liked her role as Mystique.
Yep.
I know that she doesn't talk a lot. She's not one of the main characters,
but she's tough.
But she's super tough in that role. I
And hours in makeup every time she had to be be in blue
single
every
time.
Yes,
Like,
hours.
So we're gonna go with that one. We're just gonna do that one because it's easy. Yeah, Katniss those rocks.
Yes.
I love Katniss.
All right. So in an effort not to pick Ree, because we've already talked about her a lot, and she made my top 7 list. So it's actually Tiffany Maxwell from the film Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh, nice.
It's a great movie. Her character's a lot of different levels in that one, and she stands toe to toe with Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro in that film. So, and she pretty much
won an
steals.
Oscar, didn't she, for that one?
I don't know if she got a nomination. I think she got an Oscar for, was it American Hustle? What's the other one? There's another one she did with the same director, and
I think she got a nod in American Hustle. I thought Playbook was a full-on Oscar. I'm gonna look it up now. I'm curious. Okay, go ahead.
But no, it's a great film if you haven't. Yeah, it was David O. Russell she's worked with on Silver Linings Playbook, and I believe also Silver Linings Playbook is a lot of fun, and it's a great film. I think my wife and I have watched it at least a dozen times, and she's great in it. So I like the character. There's a lot of different ways you could play that character, and there's a lot of different emotions she has in that. She plays a little crazy. She plays a little, angry. She has a lot of different things going on, and she does them all very well. So it's a great film. There's a lot of mental health issues in that film for everybody, and I think it's worth it watching it just for that as well. So, So Tiffany Maxwell in Silver Linings Playbook is one of my favorite roles for her. Final word and rating: 1 to 5 film reels. So, JP, how do you want to sum it up, and what's the rating?
Okay, I'm obviously going to give this 5 film reels because,
Yeah, me
like
too.
I said, I can't find. I mean, just the heart and soul that the crew and the locals and the actors and everybody put in to getting this little film made. And I got to tell you, I worked on a couple of $2 million movies. They are not easy. And that one, even in the conditions that they were, I don't even know how they got it done. So I'm very, very impressed with that. I will say though, Dayton, I was waiting for you to bring up the music in this.
Well, good point. Yeah, I love the
Because
scene
you're
when
such a music guy.
I love the scene where they go to find Jessup's ex-girlfriend, and they're just sitting there singing. They're like, so half the room's playing cards, the other half is playing music and singing, which I thought was great. But yeah, that's
Because they made that scene went over so well, they ended up including it in the soundtrack with the score. They recorded a bunch of other, and John Hawkes recorded, because he's a musician and stuff. So, if you want to record a side section on the on the music, feel free. Because
it's the music it's one of those. It's more. I looked at it as more environmental. It just makes sense within the telling of the story. So I didn't really catch the needle drops and things like that. You know what I mean? It was just part of the life that we're watching. So to me, it was there more
I think because it took me back to my parents had their radio alarm set to an AM station, and it was all local, and like you get some of the country, music of the day, but that country music back then sounded very different than it does now and stuff. And so I was just like, oh wow, they made a whole album.
Yeah, see, that's not really my genre.
That's not that.
Okay.
I appreciated it being there, and I know it was necessary to be there. Like I said, I really like that scene when they show up and they're just singing, and because
they're
most
picking
people
and grinning. That's what it's called. They're picking and grinning.
They sure as hell were. So anyway, all right, John, final word and rating.
Final word: you need to watch this movie. Like even if you don't think you need to watch this movie, you need to watch this movie. It's very good. It's impactful. It's obviously a 5 reels for me. It was stupendous. You need to watch at least 5 times because you're going to watch 5 different movies. I mean, it really is that good.
Yes. I agree with everything you two just said. So yes, literally my note is see this film, and it's 5 out of 5 because it's just so good. And from everything, the acting, the look, everything is so good. It's rare. It's just rare to get this good of a movie, and people is like you either have not seen it and never heard of it, or if you've seen it, you love it. There's no in between.
I did not know about it until you talked about it in our top 7 badass women. Like just was like, what? Like, I mean, yeah, it was really good. So I did it. I highly recommend it, people. I recommend this film.
All right. Yeah,
Hey, by the way, Jennifer Lawrence won that. Her only win was for Silver Linings Playbook.
Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure she had a nomination for American Hustle, but yes.
No, she got nominated. Nominated for Winter's Bone and for Joy, but not American Hustle.
I haven't even seen Joy. I haven't seen.
Sounds like a new episode.
Maybe. All right. Well, that brings us to an end of another episode. Fabulous discussion. Thank you so much for being here. And once again, thank you, JP, for doing an awesome deep dive in production history. Because there's stuff in that I didn't even know. So, yes. JP, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. I love being on these episodes and getting to geek out. So, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we geek. We're good at geeking out.
We are good. Yeah.
And of course, Disney John, thank you so much for being here.
Oh no, thank you for letting JP do the production notes. I know that whenever I'm on the episode with JP and there's production notes, I'm just like, that's JP's job. I'm like, that's not mine. So I appreciate that. And I know that everybody else does as well.
Well, I'm just glad I brought something to the table you guys hadn't heard yet, because that's my goal.
We all got schooled for sure. So
we did.
Okay, good. All right.
All right. Thank you to our listeners for spending time with us. Reach out on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Let us know what you think of Jennifer Lawrence. If you have seen this film, let us know what you think. And if you haven't, hopefully we've convinced you to go see it, rent it, do whatever, buy a copy. I bought a Blu-ray copy because physical media. But yes, do us a favor and also rate and review the podcast. If we see the review, we will share it on social media and read it on an episode. If you want to help out the podcast in other ways, join our Patreon. There's plenty of exclusive content over there. Recent reviews include the Pixar film Turning Red, the alternate universe Beatles film, we call it that, Yesterday, Spirited Away, and our latest review is the 2016 science fiction film Arrival that Disney John alluded to earlier, starring Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial and check out stuff over there. And if you like it, stay on and help support the podcast. April, Disney Through the Decades, 5 episodes focusing on a single film from the decades of the 30s, the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. The films include Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Fantasia, Sleeping Beauty, The Jungle Book, and the fan listener voted on The Rescuers for the 1970s. Looking forward to that. It's fun. We're enjoying it already, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Do yourself a favor and watch more movies. And remember, physical media is better than streaming. The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson. Recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.